the revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.
Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and our Kings, Gareth A. Davies. Welcome back to the UK. I know you've been away for a week in Miami, enjoying the bare knuckle. They're doing a great job and there's some good fights on again. But you also dipped your toe at the opening press conference as well for Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua. Saw you asking the questions as well, as ever. Where to begin? Because Riyadh season, Ring Magazine put on a great card as well. So let's start. Start with Joshua, Jake Paul. I saw your initial comments on it when the fight got made and saw you and Eddie speaking about it, but you were there in person to see the face-off or the face to chest. What are your thoughts on what's going to be, no matter how anyone wants to dress it up, it's a mega event.
It really is a big event, and it had that feel when you don't really get to experience it until you've seen the guys together. I still think it's a dangerous fight for Jake Paul, and it's one that will get licensed, obviously, by the Florida State Athletic Commission. You do fear for Jake Paul because Anthony Joshua is taking it very seriously. He was already in camp. Jake Paul decided not to motorboat him, as he said he was planning to do.
I read that.
He wasn't going to mess about. You did read that, yeah?
I read that and thought, oh my God, thank God he didn't do it.
No, I don't think AJ would have liked that, or he might have just swatted him off. But AJ was in fine fettle, mentally, physically, emotionally, and I liked the fact he's taking Jake Paul very seriously, because at the end of the day, he's got to go in there and do a number on him. Jake Paul cannot be allowed to go 8 rounds with him, because that would be seen as a disaster for Anthony Joshua. He's gone from a guy who's a foot taller than the guy Gervonta Davis he was going to fight, and twice as heavy almost. So it's a completely different change of scene, change of opponent. It's a step up again. It's outside. It's the perfect opponent. Really, a much bigger guy, an active heavyweight, in his marketing terms, I mean, in the game that he's playing after Mike Tyson. It's the, if it wasn't Conor McGregor or KSI, then you pick this guy who's about to have the battle of the British Bulge next year with Tyson Fury, and even has the gall to say, when I've beaten Joshua, I'll be calling out Tyson Fury. So I operate on this level of optimistic, delusional optimism, as he calls it. That he calls on the universe to give him his next task. He's an unusual character, Jake Paul. It was great to see him. I saw him in person as well after it and had a chat to him. Nakisa Bidarian did take me up on the column I'd written, saying it demeaned Joshua's legacy and shouldn't be allowed to go ahead. Look, I'm going to it. I'm covering it. It's a very big event. It will do astronomical numbers because, people are going to tune in to see Jake Paul get knocked out and, against this British behemoth of a boxer. So it's just a weird one, but it's massive. It felt massive.
Yeah. How are you feeling on it now you've been at the press conference? Do you think this affects Anthony Joshua's legacy? Do you think it puts anything on it? Or does the fact he's an Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight world champion, is his legacy already written? How do you see it?
Yeah, my piece on that was a slight at the fact that this guy is a modern... he's one of the modern standout heavyweights. He's a guy that put heavyweight boxing back on the map in the UK alongside Tyson Fury, brought a great era to the sport, brought so many eyeballs to the sport, made it great again, had so many amazing fights, good and bad, for him in terms of results. Has been a fascinating study the entire time. So it doesn't demean him in the amount of money he's going to earn for facing Jake Paul, and he's a prize fighter. But it doesn't do anything for his legacy to fight Jake Paul, other than his bank balance. So in that sense, I'm skeptical about it. But having been there, well, even before I was there, I was fascinated by it. I was still fascinated by it when I was writing the column. I didn't say I'm not going to watch it, because there's something in it. There's something in the golden cockerel's cojones, the golden cockerel Jake Paul's cojones to want to do this. He's mad enough to step in there. And Anthony Joshua, I don't think is playing a game. I think he's going to go in there. But what he has to do is probably stop him quicker than he stopped Francis Ngannou in Riyadh for there to be a satisfactory outcome for AJ.
Yeah, that was my next point. What is acceptable in this fight? Because the pressure, although there's going to be pressure on Jake Paul because of the man who's standing in front of him, that's the pressure. But there's an expectancy from everyone in the boxing world that either he doesn't get out of round one or the most a little bit of round two. That's what everybody seems to say. Look, he might have a look round one and then that'll be the end of things in round two, or he'll just go in there and try to take him out as quick as possible. What is that?
Well,
is that okay? No,
he should.
He should. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying, is that the
if Jake
the
Paul
okay?
goes the distance? What if Jake Paul goes the distance? What are you going to be thinking? People will be saying, "Oh, it's fixed.
It's not.
It's fixed." Or why couldn't AJ get him out of there? That's what people will say. So I don't expect it to go beyond round three.
So we're giving him till 3.
But just imagine if something weird happens and Jake Paul and Joshua turns an ankle and can't stand up, or Jake Paul catches him off the ropes. I mean, I don't expect him to, because the levels between them are just huge.
Yeah.
So you tune in to rubberneck a car crash, and there's just enough jeopardy in the way Jake Paul has this ironclad mentality that people go, yeah, he's believable. He really is going to try and fight Anthony Joshua. But I mean, personally, I don't think he stands a chance.
Look, I applaud his bravery. It's he really does believe in himself. So fair play. Look, the card at the weekend, I stayed up and watched the whole thing over here in the UK, and sometimes don't make it through, but every fight was class from top to bottom. Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes, brilliant fight. Sam Noakes will come again. The return of, I think it's the return of Devin Haney. He took on what everyone was calling at the start of the night and throughout the weeks leading up to it, the hardest hitting puncher in the welterweight division, and everyone I spoke to seemed to think he was getting knocked out going into that fight. Not a lot were giving him maybe the respect that his resume deserves, and he turned up and he looked the bigger, stronger man in there, and he did a remarkable job. Bam Rodriguez as well is just a delight to watch, and Benavidez seems to be the monster that everyone claims he is. What did you make of the card when you managed to sort of watch it and catch up?
Yeah, I've gone over it, Matt. I thought Benavidez was very impressive. I thought Anthony Yarde was disappointing. I couldn't understand why he didn't try to press the fight early on. I didn't like how much he was on the ropes. I thought that played into Benavidez's hands. So I was very disappointed with that for Anthony Joshua. I do think Benavidez belongs in the top 6, 7, 8 pound for pound now. I'm disappointed that he's facing Zurdo Ramirez, because I wanted Zurdo Ramirez to fight Jai Opetaia. But then I understand how that matchup works for the Mexicans at cruiserweight. I think he might fare well against Ramirez, but he's very impressive, Benavidez. And I think he could look equally impressive against Bivol and Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, and Callum Smith come to that. So you've got 4 outstanding light heavyweights there. And I think, it's disappointing what's happened to Anthony Yarde. Sam Noakes' stock rose. I was pleased to see his body language afterwards, that he was satisfied with his performance. Abdullah Mason, 18-0 going into this, I think he is, or was. A very impressive fighter from America, one of their rising stars. But I thought Noakes did very well. Bam Rodriguez, probably up to number 4 pound for pound in the world right now.
He's
the big fight out there for him.
He's a joke, by the way.
I mean, you know, opened the door. It was a left, I think, wasn't it? That he put just Martinez away with brilliant execution. The big fight for him is Naoya Inoue. That's the fight I'd really like to see for Bam, because he doesn't get a lot of mainstream crossover publicity. So I'd like to see him do that. And
Devin.
And Devin Haney, he's got a style we love to hate. That's what they did when Floyd Mayweather was coming through. And 3-weight world champion now, put Norman down early. And the thing is about Devin, which is what people don't like, he doesn't like to stand and bang. He doesn't want to be hit, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's not a fan-pleasing style. And Conor Benn can lean on, put his head and snore on Eddie Hearn's shoulder as much as he wants. But Devin Haney has already achieved so much more than Conor has in the ring. I'd love to see them in a ring together. I think it sells over here. They maybe they could make it at 150 or something. Doesn't have to be for a belt. But I think it's a shame that they can't see that they could harness the power of his notoriety and fame over here and come and fight him over here. And I think a Devin Haney fight for him over here is quite big against Conor Benn.
So what gets me is, and it is what it is. Look, Devin Haney, we saw what happened with Ryan Garcia. Ryan did pop and all that kind of stuff, and his record was expunged. But with that fight after it, he's come back. He's took a lot of criticism. He didn't have a pleasing performance in New York, and it weren't great. He won nearly every round, but it wasn't pleasing. But for him to go into this fight, and this is what gets me, with the guy who everyone's putting on that pedestal, going, he has had knockout of the year, potentially bigger than that. He's on a great run of form. He's not the guy to get in with if you're frightened, if you're scared. He's the wrong guy. And he gets in there. He looked the bigger, stronger man. I thought for 6 rounds, he didn't go around the ring. He was almost pivoting around him, but he was catching him and hurting Norman. He dropped Norman.
And he dropped him. And he dropped him as well.
And then for the last 4 or 5 rounds, he chooses to jab, hold, move, and I just thought, what more do you want? Like he's done the business.
Used to do. Matt, it's what Mayweather did time and time again. And in the end, people used to tune in to see if the next opponent could knock him out. That's all they tuned in for. Could Pacquiao knock him out? Could Mosley knock him out? I can't think of all the names right now. I've stepped off a plane, but could these guys knock him out? No, they couldn't. No. And then Haney is that kind of character.
Yeah. I just thought, I heard Eddie Hearn go on the broadcast straight after, and obviously I know they used to work together and he left and all that kind of stuff, but I was like, it wasn't like when they made out it was so boring. I thought he showed a little bit of everything. Like you got to...
If Eddie was promoting him, he'd have been saying exactly that. He showed a bit of everything there. He knocked him down early, outboxed him earlier, outmuscled him for 6 rounds, and then he got on his bike, because why should he get hit? Hit and not be hit is the name of the game.
Absolutely.
That's what Eddie would have said. So he's just trying to sell the fight. I really do think. It's a shame that Bill Haney was saying afterwards, he was calling Conor when, and saying Conor needs to win a world title first. I don't think they've got a handle on how big our market is over here, and how big they could go with a Conor Benn fight, that it could really make money for them over here. But again, what happens is, I think with these ring cards, the level of money being paid by Turkey Al Sheikh and Saudi Arabians is it heightens that expectation of the paydays. Mm-hmm. So it sometimes gives it not a false economy but an elevated economy.
So I was looking at it going, Barrios and Ryan Garcia, we hear is signed. We hear that's done. So if you're now here going, right, I know I'm number one with WBC, I can see how that pans out, then get my shot. But whilst you're riding this crest of a wave and you've just come off a good performance, I know you've got to lose a lot of weight to get down to 147, but you've Devin Haney there. There's a genuine back and forth. I think the build-up would be great. And you know what? If you back yourself, that's a terrific fight to have. And there's obviously other fighters in the division as well that you can fight. But I thought the Devin fight would make sense. It's they're both big names.
That whole grouping at the moment needs to Get me. I want to see the Ryan Garcia fight again. I know the first fight was expunged. I don't know whether Devin Haney will ever step in with him again. I think Ryan Garcia against Barrios is a great fight. Mario Barrios is a great fight. Obviously, they're chasing Oscar De La Hoya and Ryan Garcia are chasing a world title. Then that gives them greater leverage to set up a rematch, to set up a second iteration against Haney. But it's a very, very big fight when those two step into a ring together again.
Last one from me, last couple, but I want to ask you about this. Dalton Smith spoke to him yesterday. There was an adverse finding from Subriel Matias, Osterine. Now, it came up as an adverse finding, but I believe from the reports I'm reading that the New York Athletic State Commission, which is one of the most stringent, I believe, in boxing, that it's within a
New York State Athletic Commission, yeah.
It's within a certain threshold of, I think it was 0.85 and the threshold's 1. If I'm wrong there, I take it back, but I'm pretty sure I'm bang on. But then, why is it coming up on this list from VADA then, if they have a threshold of 1 and it's a banned substance? And when you read into it, it's not legal to take. So they obviously there's going to be a contamination thing again, but how does that sit? But why is there a threshold on it? Is what I'm asking. If it's banned by human substance. If it's banned in the UK.
Well, it's not over the threshold, is what you're saying, yeah?
He's not over the threshold, but it's come up on the VADA test saying there's an adverse finding for Osterine. But then if the Athletic State Commission say, well, we allow for a certain amount, it's like, well, why is it? It's just, I just find all this so baffling. It's either in your system. Is
it an abnormal finding?
Adverse
is it an abnormality?
Finding. Yeah, an adverse finding.
So they're just coming clean about the finding, and I'm not sure he's facing a ban as a result, is he?
No, from what I understood speaking to Dalton yesterday, when they originally got announced, it was like this fight will happen, but now he's convinced no, the fight will happen. It's because it's within a threshold. But then when you actually research into Osterine, it's not something you can get hold of from reading about it, and it's not to be So it's another one of them where you look and go, what's going on? Why can we not?
Well, you hope for Dalton this fight goes ahead because it's his chance to win a world title. Yeah. I think he's got. I've always thought he's got the style to beat Subriel Matias, because he's a reckless fighter. Yeah, he's a very reckless fighter, and he's the kind of reckless fighter that Dalton can expose. And also, it sets up the possibility of creating this fight with Adam Azim at some point for a world title. And I think Dalton, what is he, 27, 28 now?
Yeah.
It's time for him to have that fight, to test himself at world level. And I think this is the perfect guy. So let's hope that whatever's in his system, as long as Dalton's willing and Grant, his father, willing to go ahead and do this, that they still have this fight and they get it on. All under the auspices of the New York State Athletic Commission, if it's allowable, because I still think it's slightly up in the air at the moment.
Yeah, we'll see how that one develops. Last one from me, sort of a two-parter, the return of Ben Whittaker, and also we have Jamie TKV and Fraser Clark in a good domestic dust-up as well this weekend. You're looking forward to seeing how both pan out? It's interesting.
Yeah, first one, Ben Whittaker needs to be impressive under Andy Lee and show he can step in on his punches against Ghazi, who's, 19-1, 13 knockouts, 30-year-old German, based in Germany. He's got to look impressive. I think he's the right kind of opponent for Ben to go in, show his wares, do his razzmatazz act, but also just show that developing power that he's stepping in on his punches, and then maybe he fights like a Dan Aziz next, and just goes through that route of British, European, Commonwealth, and finds his way over the next year and a half sensibly in the light heavyweight division, which at the moment, as we talked about, Benavidez at the top. Benavidez, Callum Smith, Better B. Evan Bivol, those four guys, maybe David Morrell as well, stand above the other five right now.
Yeah.
And we'll see what the outcome of Callum and Morrell is. I think Callum beats Morrell, but again, he's a tough ask. He's a big, strong 175-pounder, yeah. So, looking forward to seeing Ben in action. Obviously, first fight under Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Match made in heaven, as they're calling it. That perfect skit to kick it off, with Eddie hamming it up. And Fraser Clarke, Jamie TKV. I see Fraser as a favourite. It's good to see the BBC back on with boxing on BBC Two on Saturday night. 23 years on from Audley Harrison winning Olympic gold in Sydney in 2000, and the BBC kind of getting their bottom smacked a little bit by the fact that they didn't set up the 10 fights properly, and Audley Harrison was able to cherry pick his opponents, so he picked 10 easy opponents.
Yeah.
It's good it's on there. I hope Jamie TKV seems to have some issues with Fraser this week, disrespect issues. I'm not sure where they've come from. He's talking about them. He's in his DMs and all these kind of things, and he's disrespecting him on the keyboard. He's obviously trying to get himself going.
Yeah.
But that fight has the potential they've got the potential to just nullify each other a little bit. I'm not sure whether we're going to get loads of thrilling exchanges like we did Fraser against Fabio Wardley, but I do see Fraser the favourite in that, winning on points. And, he's going to be looking at Fabio Wardley at the moment, having had that amazing fight with him last year, going, God, look what could have been for me if I'd won 3 in a row after, one of the fights of the year last year. So it's really good. I mean, it's thick and fast. We've got, there's a lot of, with AJ and Jake Paul, with the Night of the Samurai, with this, we've got the IBA conference coming up in Dubai, which is really big as well. A huge guest list. So all the world's amateurs taking part for money and prize money this time. A big professional card. I think Jazza Dickens is on that again. James Maxie Hughes, and then so it's a busy end to the year, really is.
It is. Looking forward to it though, and it's going to set up a really good January. January looks incredible already. When you talk about the Dalton Smith, Shakur and Tio, we're hearing's done.
Moses,
yeah.
Ajit Kabayel.
Take my money. I'm never going to be out.
And I haven't mentioned the two Africa cards either that are going on the 19th and the 20th as well.
Lagos and Ghana as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's incredible. It's on fire all around the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, look. Hopefully next time we catch up, we'll be in person. I think we're going to be at some of these events in the next few weeks. Well, I know we are. So we will catch up. Not over Zoom, but appreciate you jumping on so quick after getting back from Miami, mate.
Always a pleasure, lifesaver.
Cheers, bud.
The revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.